leaving my job to my former job to come and do this, for me, it was an easy thing to do. It didn't take time. I didn't have to overthink it because I knew that I wanted this thing that we were creating to succeed. But it was a huge shift emotionally, financially, professionally. But I think a couple of things made it easier, which is first, the fact that I had clarity. I knew what my purpose was, I knew what I was doing. For me, my faith is what drives everything. People have come, people have gone, but I have an amazing team of people who are all equally passionate, and I wish you could meet some of them as well. And together, we're the ones that have done, this work. We work very, very closely with the government, which was hard because in the beginning, as a family, we were not happy with the government and with the way things happened during Ebola. But we soon realized that we have to overcome the tragedy and the pain and use government as the number one strategic partner we have as for this organization to get things done. And that has helped immensely. Working through government structures, because I can't go to a community in Sokoto and tell you who the local influencer is. I don't know. So we work with people who are on the ground, including government officials and authorities, to help us achieve the goals that we have, including recruitment, training of these health champions across the country.
Thank you so much for all that you've shared. I think it's really very helpful to see the angle you are coming from on the matter of trust for the system, right? So you are not making promises that are unfounded, right? You're essentially, we're honing it. We're saying that we know our system. We know it's not, but in spite of that, you can still get two done, 1, 2, 3 things
Exactly.
done. And, I'm sure they probably gave it a try and found it to be true. And then, so that's a very helpful perspective because I know how, the system
Yeah.
can be. Let me pivot, and thanks for the second question too. It's good to know that it's not it's not a one-woman show, right? Now, I'm a big believer in the power of leadership, right? As one of my friends here will say, a fish rots from the head, right? So,
Yep.
yeah. So, whatever your team are getting done, right? They probably got stung by you first, right? They got infected by you, in quote. And then, so again, thanks for all you do and for kind of replicating or multiplying yourself in them, and then they are now being able to take it forward. I think it's a great thing. So well done. If you don't mind me, I want to pivot the conversation a little bit into issues a little bit around finances and both on the personal and corporate level, so to say, right? So I will ask it in just 2 questions so that you can just take them at a go. So number one was you were gainfully employed. Correct me if I'm wrong. Before you,
Gainfully employed, yes.
I assume, and what you do today is not for profit. Yes, you're passionate and all of that. Were there concerns around, you making, you're smiling already. You probably get this question from time to time, right? Were there concerns around you making that transition to this kind of work because it may not be as lucrative as perhaps what you were involved with and what you were doing then? So that is question number one. Question number two is a little bit more at a speaking from a funding organization standpoint, especially for not-for-profit kind of work where you're not necessarily selling things and making revenue and the bottom line, top line kind of thing. It's a social impact kind of thing. Now, any work, be it for profit or not for profit, that we want to, are always, finances are always a thing. And I've heard it from 1,001 people. Finances are always a thing. And I would like to understand how you navigated it, you are navigating it, or you intend to continue to navigate it in the future. Now the acclaim is there. Maybe you're very popular now, people know your work. But in the initial days when you didn't have all of that acclaim and all of that reputation and all that, how did you manage that? And what would be your advice for other people? I hope that is
Yeah,
clear
yeah, no,
enough.
that's clear. So let me start with the personal one first. I think leaving my former job to come and do this, for me, it was an easy thing to do. It didn't take time. I didn't have to overthink it because I knew that I wanted this thing that we were creating to succeed. I felt I had learned a lot from the previous organization where I was, and that I could apply those lessons and my experience in my career up to that point generally to lead, at least to try. My goal was let me try my best and see if this thing is going to take off or not. But it was a huge shift emotionally, financially, professionally. But I think a couple of things made it easier, which is first, the fact that I had clarity. I knew what my purpose was, I knew what I was doing. For me, my faith is what drives everything. And it was a prayer point, and it was very clear that this is what I was supposed to be doing. And so, again, the personal connection, because I was doing it in memory of my aunt who I was very close to, somebody that I loved dearly. It was very personal. So giving up the incentives of the life I was living before, I had my own place, I had my car, I was earning well, I was traveling up and down. Being able to walk away from all of that to start from, I can't even mention what my initial salary was, but let's just say to start from the beginning. Um, I wasn't concerned about that. I knew that everything was going to somehow work out because I really believed that that was what I was supposed to be doing at that point in my life. And I had an amazing support system, I can't lie, my family. But beyond family, having a board of trustees, a board of advisors, people who believed in the mission, believed in the cause, and so many partners, operational partners. People came and said, "Oh, we'll help you with legal, we'll help you with accounting." Having that structure when we first started really made things easy for me to be able to put everything towards this and do my best to make it succeed. And of course, family support was also essential. It's leading this kind of organization, or rather transitioning from where I was to where I started from with DRASA, wouldn't have been possible without that entire support network that I've just described. It's not something anybody can do alone. And so, from the financial point of view, yes, it was a change for me, but I knew that things would improve with time. And I knew that I had to do it at that point in time. There was no doubt in my mind that I was making a mistake. I never questioned it. I knew it was what I was supposed to be doing. In terms of the organization itself, again, when we started, we had very, very limited resources. It was hard because we didn't have a track record. We didn't have results to say, we can increase people's knowledge. We can reduce the burden of disease. We didn't have the impact or the results to show because there was no work that we had done. We were starting from scratch. And so it was tough. Also, people felt that Ebola has gone. What are you still talking about? And we had to get them to understand this is not about Ebola or any big, epidemic, pandemic type of disease. It's about the everyday issues that we face in Nigeria. And so dealing with the mindsets of people that we needed to engage, donors and partners, and also just the fact that we were new and we had no results. It was hard. But one of the things that, and thank God for this, it was a huge blessing in a way. When people heard the name, they wanted to help. And so for the first almost 2 years, we were majority funded by individual donations, not corporate, not grants, because we couldn't approach any big corporate because we didn't have a track record. We couldn't apply for grants because we had no, major profile or projects or results to show. And so we spent that first 1.5 to 2 years building our portfolio, doing the work, showing the results, so that we could transition from individual people supporting us because they knew her story and knew what she did, to now the grants, the corporates, the philanthropies, and so on and so forth. And so that has been our story. We still have a good donor base of individuals who have some of whom have been supporting us for the entire decade. But we've now transitioned into the future of what it's going to look like, knowing that last year, 2025 in particular, the nonprofit space faced huge changes as regards funding, with traditional aid funding pulling out, philanthropies tightening, their scope as well. And so as part of our 10-year anniversary last year, October, we launched an endowment fund. And that endowment fund is what is going to sustain us for the next decade and beyond, alongside the traditional fundraising that we've been doing. But again, we're thinking of finances differently this time around, looking at the endowment fund as an investment. People give us a one time donation, it sits in this endowment account and generates income that we can, or rather revenue and returns that we can now use to operate and do the work. So rather than going back to a donor every year and saying, we need more money, just give us a lump sum and we're good. That amount you give us will give us the returns that we need to continue the work. And so that has been our shift from, people putting their hands in their pockets to give us any little amount and adding up to what we could use to prove ourselves in the beginning, to now shifting into trying to be a bit more independent when it comes to our finances.
Wow. Thank you so much for sharing that. All clear, right? Both on the personal front, right? And it's great to really have a support system in place. And I have a follow-up question for you on that, if you don't mind. But before I ask that question, I also want to say thank you for sharing the thought around sustainable, what I termed in my head, sustainable, not-for-profit funding, right? Because, the whole endowment thing, it's a bit new to me. But it's good to really think about it like that, because at some point, donor fatigue set in, right? People get tired of just doing it and doing it and doing it, right? So this looks like a smart way to approach it, especially, if you're able to get some, significant contributions from, people who can support in that skill. Now, two quick questions as a follow up, if you don't mind. Wow, time is not my friend today. Two quick question. Number one is, so if you look at your donor profiles today, right, in terms of what comes in and all of that, what would you consider to be the mix in terms of what comes in from individuals and what comes in from, say, corporate, right? Just like a simple mix. Number one question. Number two question was around what you mentioned around the support system. Just want to check with you, in your experience, how important would you say having a board of directors or board of advisors from the very onset versus having it a couple of years down the line, right? But having them from the very onset, how important do you think that is, or should be for every new organization that is setting out? I hope those two questions are
Yeah,
clear.
thank you. So regarding the first question, I think you were asking about the mix of funding that we have. It has shifted, and we're less dependent now on individual donors. We still have some who are consistent and some who are not so consistent, but either way, there's still an individual donor base that we have. But the majority of our funding now, I would say upwards of 80% to 90% of it, is coming from philanthropic organizations and institutions. So these are institutions that seek to support charities. Some of them are family foundations, others are foundations set up by businessmen and women who want to have a philanthropic impact in the world. And currently, all of them are non Nigerian, non African, to be quite honest. We have transitioned. We've been through philanthropies based in Nigeria and the continent. We've had corporates, both local and international, that have supported us. But at this point in time, it's mostly international philanthropic organizations that are supporting us. And again, that is the case for many nonprofits. The mix and the composition of your donor base shifts per phase of organization, and as you grow and as the landscape itself shifts. So that's just where we are now. But that's just to say that we're really grateful for everybody that has supported us up until this point, because honestly, none of this would be possible if we didn't have the resources, financial, in kind, and human to get the work done. So that's that. And then in terms of the board, for me, structure is essential, and I'm grateful that I came from uh, the earlier parts of my career, that this was not the first thing I ever did, because I got to see how things can be done and should be done. I also got to see how things shouldn't be done. So when starting this organization, for me, it was essential that we had that structure in place. Governance is essential and key for many reasons: for accountability, for trust, for building external partnerships. And for strategic direction. And so for us, having a board of directors or trustees first, and also having a board of advisors was essential from day one. We wanted the board of trustees to be the stewards of the organization, to be involved in more of the operational oversight and all of that, while the board of advisors were all, and the board of trustees are non-health professionals, people from private sector, people who can bring different perspectives that we need for driving the vision forward, versus the board of advisors, who are all not the technical experts in infectious diseases and medicine and nursing and the like. So pharmaceuticals and all of that. So that's, for us, was essential from day one, and I have no regrets about that. I would advise that anybody embarking on this kind of a journey, set up your systems and structures from day one. Um, these things are all crucial, especially to set the tone from the early days. There's nothing wrong with starting, and then if you don't have it, you manage. But if you can put it in place from day one, it will save you a lot of stress, inefficiency, and other issues down the line. So yeah, that's what I would say.
Wow, thanks a lot, Niniola, for sharing that. I have other questions on those matter, but I
Okay.
want to move on for the sake of for the sake of time. Um, you've been doing this for 10
Yeah.
years, right? And as we say locally, that
No,
is
it's
not
not.
beans. That is not beans. It's not beans at all. 10 years, it's a long time to, and you've done this, you've built it up, right? But now maybe these are very exciting times, right? Donor profile on the rise, loyal staff, impact, becoming more apparent. That's what we all want to do. But I'm sure that it has not always been like that. The question I'm trying to get to is what would you consider like an inflection point where really start getting really exciting, like, yes, yeah, we were making some progress before, but at this point, that gang kind of,
Yeah.
gang, right? um
Yeah.
that gang kind of moment where things just seems to, like, started going stratospheric, if I
Yeah.
can use that word. What would that moment, time, or event be like in your
That's a
opinion?
great question. I think there are a few moments like that in our 10-year history, and I'll just quickly highlight a few. I think the first was when we started being seen as a technical partner of government, as a mini institution on our own, rather than a memorial organization. Of course, like I said in the beginning, and still till today, the legacy of my aunt is what drives what we do. But at a point, we had to prove ourselves that we can stand on our own 2 feet apart from her memory and what she did, that we have value to add, that we um, have something to offer. And so her name and her story definitely opened many doors for us. And like I said, helped us, especially in the first 2 years, build the foundation of what we are today. But we had to also get to a point where people saw the organization for what it is beyond her. And so when we started seeing that people were calling us for important meetings and we were being asked to take on certain responsibilities, um, you know, that was exciting. Like I said, we've been working with government from day one. But when the government now came and said, hey, we would like you to lead the development of this 5-year national strategy, that was a turning point for us, because now we're in the forefront. We're being seen as a partner that can use all of our experience and expertise to actually drive and guide policy and implementation. And so, really, that that transition for us was a huge turning point. Um, and I think also another one was when we now entered the communities. Like I said, that's really been an important part of the work. We didn't start in communities, we started in health facilities, eventually in schools. But the community element, expanding our portfolio and our reach, and ensuring that from a grassroots level, people are influencing the health system, people are able to be part of the health system. Their voices matter, and we're bringing them to the table to contribute and shape their health system on a local level and beyond that. That was also a very exciting thing for us and continues to be. So I think those are a couple of times when I would say we've had genge moments of wow, okay, this is exciting, and it's helped us to also validate that we are achieving what we set out to achieve.
Hey, thanks a lot for taking the time to watch the podcast. We are super thankful for you taking that time and investing the time to learn. We hope that you find the story inspiring, and beyond that, that you've been able to articulate one or two things that you want to do differently in your own entrepreneurial journey. May I encourage you to please like, subscribe, comment, and please share the word within your own circle of influence, especially within those that you think are on the same entrepreneurial journey with you. May I also encourage you to please, beyond subscribing to our YouTube channel, follow us on our other social media platforms. That means a lot to us, and we can see that that helps us to track that we're making some progress and so making some impact. Thanks a lot once again for taking the time to watch, and please see you on the next episode.